everyone. Thank you so much for joining this presentation today. I know you've probably all got Zoom fatigue. I know they're feeling well, but this is only going to be probably a 25-minute chat about your apprenticeship options. And we're going to run through the entire presentation, put your questions in the chat box and we'll answer them, or as much as we can, at the end. So firstly, I always like to start with a key stat. So what % of students do you think would recommend their apprenticeship to a friend? And this was from a survey that we conducted last year. So what % of students do you think would recommend their apprenticeship to a friend? So actually 97% of students would recommend their apprenticeship. Now, to put that into context, I don't know how many of you are on this webinar. There could be 100 of you, but if there were 100 of you on this webinar, then that means that only 3 of you actually wouldn't tell your friend about that apprenticeship. So that's really great number. Why is this so important? We are now in a world where people often read reviews before making a decision. Think about whenever you've Googled a restaurant or a cafe and you've seen that it's got 5 stars on Google, so then you go there straight away. TripAdvisor, Netflix reviews, etc. We know that we really put reviews to high regard, and if your peer or your friend recommends something, you've actually got a more chance that you're going to go ahead and make the same decision. So this is why we're really proud that 97% of students would recommend their apprenticeship to a friend. Just a bit about me then. As you know, I'm Sophie from Rate My Apprenticeship. I'm originally from Nottingham, and a long time ago now, back in 2005, I went to college and university in 2007 to study performing arts. And I've always been a practical subject preference. I've never particularly been academic, never really enjoyed that side of it. And I wanted to be on stage, I wanted to be in a girl band. So still do want to be in a girl band, by the way. Gutted that they weren't auditioning for Jessie's new role with Little Mix. But anyway, I followed the academic route due to a severe lack of options at that time. So I was practical, I wanted to be on stage, yet at that time, I thought my only route was either you go directly to university or you go straight into full-time employment. So that's why I went to university and studied performing arts. Clearly was not the right path for me. But this is what's so exciting now, because things have come a long way since then. And now there's so many options available to you, whether you are academic or not, whether you want to go to university or not, whether you want to go to college or not. There's just so many options. And I think whichever route you take, we are really now fully equipped to ensure that you still have a great career. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So, of course, I've got to touch upon the COVID-19 impact. This is a survey from Sutton Trust. Now, they questioned senior HR decision makers, the hiring managers of companies, and they came back with this survey. So they asked these decision makers, will your company be likely to hire more or less apprentices than it hired in the 12-month before the COVID-19 outbreak? And this is what it came back with. So 6% of companies saying a few less, 8% saying they were unsure about how much they would hire, 8% saying actually they would hire much more, 11% saying they would hire much less apprentices, 16% saying they're unlikely to hire any apprentices. But actually the top 2 percentages there, a few more, 19%. So companies actually saying they're going to hire a few more apprentices than they did last year. And then a whopping 35% of employers said, doesn't matter what the COVID impact was, we're still going to hire the same amount of apprentices this year. So that's actually showing probably a more positive message than you're used to seeing. So definitely thought I would touch upon that. And that's what the wider market has told us so far. But then there's also now been further incentives from the government. So they've recently introduced new incentives to encourage employers to hire more trainees. So hot off the press, there's now a new flexi job apprenticeship. That means apprentices can actually study under different employers. Traditionally, an apprenticeship, you study with one employer full time. So you train with one employer full time, and then do part-time study. Actually, the government is thinking about changing that now, making it more flexible, making it more accessible to all. So we're going to find out more in future about this flexi job apprentice, where you can actually work for a number of different companies. I think that's really exciting. And there's new Kickstart schemes. That's further funding for employers to hire trainees. So the wider market is telling us that the government are really supporting 16 to 24-year-olds careers, and they're really putting a lot of money into apprenticeships. So I know it has been very much doom and gloom at the moment, and I can't imagine the mindset of students at the moment, but I am here to tell you that there are positives to this and things are drastically going to change. So definitely stay in there. Also, it's now said that more people are now said to be considering the apprenticeship route as a result of the pandemic. And I think this is because people want to earn money straight away, and people have now lost their faith in the traditional structure of university, especially over the last year. So yeah, apprenticeships are becoming more and more popular, and that's being backed up by extra government funding. So I looked at jobs on Rate My Apprenticeship. So I'm going to go into this in further detail, but we advertise roles throughout the entire year for 400 different employers, all the different levels of apprenticeships. And so I thought, okay, let's have a look at how many roles we had this year compared to last year before the pandemic. So on Rate My Apprenticeship, we actually had 325 roles live in January compared to 259 last year. Now that was prior to the pandemic. So we've actually increased in job roles on Rate My Apprenticeship. And just breaking that down further, orange is this year, purple is last year. This is just a quick snapshot of some of the apprenticeships we offer. Actually, you can see they've increased year on year, apart from the higher apprenticeship with just a difference of 5. But yeah, this is just to show you guys that there are still opportunities out there. There's actually been an increase year on year in terms of opportunities, and Rate My Apprenticeship is that #1 stop place for you to go on our website, see all these opportunities in one place, because I know it can get very confusing looking at loads of different employers, trying to figure out where to start. So this is what I'm here to tell you today, is how to use Rate My Apprenticeship and what your options are. So let's just do a quick apprenticeship overview then, just in case you aren't aware. So what is an apprenticeship? Well, a job combining practical training along with study, where you're employed from day one. You'll work alongside experienced staff. You'll gain job-specific skills, earn a wage from day one, and you'll have time to study, which is usually 1 day a week or 20% in relation to the role. So usually you're in an office full time or whatever you choose to do. You're working with the employer full time, but actually 20% or 1 day a week, you will have off the job training. And how many hours would you be working each week? Maybe 30 or more, including the on and off the job training. What are the 5 real benefits of doing an apprenticeship then? As I've mentioned, you'll earn money from day one. If you know university students, it's a real struggle for them most of the time, paying back their tuition fees. Some of them might not have enough time to even have a part-time job and an extra income. So this is such a great advantage of apprenticeship, because you're going to earn a full-time wage from day one. You're going to learn skills employers want to see and gain real qualifications. So we work really closely with top employers across the UK, and we know what skills they're looking for in their apprentices. Things like soft skills, great communication, timekeeping, dealing with conflict. You're going to gain these skills as soon as you start your apprenticeship, as these are skills that really you learn when you're in the world of work. So this is going to make you more employable for future companies. With that, you're going to become more confident and independent, and there'll be great routes for progression. So whether you want to move on to do another apprenticeship afterwards or stay on with the same employer, you'll be supported closely and know how to progress and improve your skills throughout. And you can learn at your own pace with the support of a mentor. So when you begin your apprenticeship, most of you will be signed a mentor, who's the person who's responsible for setting all of your work. They're essentially there for you if, for example, you might not feel comfortable in speaking to your manager, but they're there to help you, support you throughout so that you don't feel alone. Another stat then, What percent of apprentices do we think stay in employment after finishing? So imagine an apprentice, they've just completed their apprenticeship. What percentage of them do you think actually stay in employment, so then go straight back into employment after their apprenticeship has finished? 90%. So again, that's a really great stat, especially when you're comparing it to university students. A lot of university students who've just graduated either move on to go into full-time work that was completely not related to their subject, or it takes them a few years to actually find the right career path that they wanted from university. But as an apprentice, you're getting those job-specific skills, that crucial work experience from day one, and you have a higher chance of actually staying in employment after you finish your apprenticeship. So the crucial stuff then, what are your options? What can you do in terms of the apprenticeship route? So first of all, there's the traineeship, which is designed for 16 to 24-year-olds, really short and flexible. It depends what employer you do in a traineeship with. But this is how you gain those crucial soft skills that I mentioned earlier: organisation, communication, literacy, numeracy. So this is ideal for those who've maybe just graduated from school, so post 16, but didn't come out with any GCSEs. So you can do a traineeship with an employer to gain those soft skills, and then you can move on to do the next level apprenticeship. So Rate My Apprenticeship is a review site, and this is from a trainee apprentice who worked for the BBC. And they said, it's a well-organised traineeship. We have managers and mentors. Mentors are great for advice, and managers make sure that we are meeting objectives and getting the most out of our time on the traineeship. So after you've done your traineeship, you can then move on to do an intermediate apprenticeship. So to do an intermediate apprenticeship, all you need is 2 or more GCSEs. Enthusiasm, be eager to learn. For any role you apply for, you need that. And that's actually equivalent to 5 GCSE passes. So again, if you've just come out from school post 16, you didn't get 5 GCSEs, you can also do an intermediate apprenticeship that is equivalent to those 5 GCSE passes. Here's another quote from an intermediate apprentice working for BAE Systems. Since starting my apprenticeship in September, I've definitely developed many skills. I started here at work straight from high school, so I didn't really know what to expect from the world of work. I've really developed in my confidence. I think that's really key, because it could be very daunting for people who've just graduated from school, don't have work experience, to then going straight from full-time education, where you're full-time education and then straight into a full-time employment. It can be quite daunting, but this is what's great about an apprenticeship, because you've got your mentors, you're working alongside experienced staff, you're on a really structured traineeship program. And so it feels like you're being developed throughout and you're being supported throughout, so you're not actually alone. Other option is an advanced apprenticeship. So to do an advanced apprenticeship, you need 5 GCSEs at grade 4 or complete an intermediate apprenticeship, and that's equivalent to your 2 A-level passes. So with that, that's kind of your alternative to going to college, really. So you've just finished school, you still want to study, you still want to gain a qualification, but actually you thought college isn't really for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an advanced apprenticeship where I'm going to study but also work full-time for an employer as well. And this is a quote from Advanced Apprentice for working for BT. I think my programme is structured and organised perfectly, as it allows me to gain as many skills and tricks of the trade as they possibly can before becoming an actual worker for the company. There is always support and help provided, whether you need it or not. Again, there seems to be themes throughout these quotes of support, help, I wasn't alone, and that's really great to see. Then you've got your higher apprenticeship. So you need 2 A-levels or more, or completed an advanced apprenticeship to do a higher apprenticeship. And that's equivalent to a foundation degree. So again, it could be that maybe you've just graduated from college, but you've decided that actually going to university isn't for me. But again, you want that work experience, you still want to get a qualification. Then actually this is what you can do, a higher apprenticeship instead. Again, another quote from someone at Savills: my employer has been very supportive of my apprenticeship and understands the pressure apprentices may feel. They also encouraged me to attend internal training, and I took part in our management and leadership programme, Empower, last year. From the beginning, I've always felt supported by my team and encouraged to complete my apprenticeship. Again, that theme of encouragement, support. Great that they got this particular apprenticeship on a management and leadership course. And finally, there's the option of a degree apprenticeship. Full disclaimer, I actually did not know that you could do a degree apprenticeship before I started at Rate My Apprenticeship. I had no idea that you could do a degree apprenticeship. I thought you had to go to university to get a degree. So I'm not sure how many of you on this call may have thought the same thing. But actually, if you do have 3 or more A levels or completed a higher apprenticeship, which is the one we've just spoken about, you can do a degree apprenticeship, and that is equivalent to a bachelor's degree or a master's. Now, there's loads of different industries that you can go into apprenticeships with, including degree apprenticeships. And this is again something that really surprised me. You can go into law with a degree apprenticeship. You can go into accountancy and finance with a degree apprenticeship. You can go into banking with a degree apprenticeship. So to me, these are really surprising industries where I thought actually you'd need the traditional methods, college, university, go straight into to this employment. But apprenticeships are so popular now. A lot of these companies are offering degree apprenticeships. So as I said earlier, it's wonderful that you guys have so many options and there's so many opportunities available to you now. So here's a quote from a degree apprentice at PwC. PwC is very supportive. Ever since the beginning of our employment, we were assigned a buddy, a mentor, a career coach, and many contacts. Again, the theme of support. And all these amazing people were always happy to answer any questions and help us in any way possible. So here's just a quick diagram that I drew to kind of really visualize and really emphasize my point of what I've just been saying about there's so many options available to you. So here you can see you can simply climb the apprenticeship ladder if you don't have the relevant qualifications. And if you do have the relevant qualifications, you can then skip straight to the relevant apprenticeship. So yeah, just emphasize my point that you don't necessarily need to be academic, you don't necessarily need the right qualifications, you can just simply climb the apprenticeship ladder and make your way to a degree apprentice if you want to. So the juicy stuff then, what do you need to expect? What do we think the application processes will look like for an apprenticeship? And this is really interesting because we are essentially representing a voice of 400 employers who advertise with us. So it's very difficult to be employer specific here, but we just need to make you aware that application processes will vary depending on the employer. But this is overall what the application process will look like. So some employers will ask for a CV and covering letter, some won't. But if they do ask for a CV, here's just quick tips, really quick, snappy tips on how your CV should look. First of all, don't write curriculum vitae as the title, unless your name is curriculum vitae, which I've never met anyone who is. Don't put that as the headline. It should always be your name. And then put together a list of your key skills in bullet points. Here's a quick example here from a snapshot from our guide. It's great to put together your job history or work experience that you have in chronological order, then list the key skills that you learnt within those roles. Focus on soft skills that I mentioned earlier, such as communication, great teamwork, and all employers should be, when you actually apply for an employer, they should show the key skills and attributes that they are looking for within their job advertisement. You can adapt your CV according to each job role. So under your work experience, for example, you want to apply for EY. EY have said they're looking for great communication skills. You can put on your CV, work experience. As an example, I was a waitress. Okay, what did I gain during a waitress? Fantastic communication skills because I was able to serve customers all day long. I had great feedback from serving these customers, etc. Just draw upon the key skills that the employer is looking for within your CV. Also, there's CV advice on Rate My Apprenticeship, but I'm going to talk to you about how you can access all of that as well. Moving on to a covering letter. So yeah, some employers will ask for a covering letter, some don't. However, I think when employers are receiving a lot of applications, if you can, to stand out from the crowd, definitely try and go above and beyond and submit a covering letter. So this isn't to simply copy and paste anything over from your CV. This is your chance to show your knowledge and your passion for why you want to work for this particular employer. So here's a couple of examples that you could do. Research the background of founders of senior members, um, research the company history, how did they start, what do they stand for? For example, have they recently been in the news? You can draw upon that in your covering letter. That shows commercial awareness, which hiring managers are really impressed by. And again, you can read reviews on Rate My Apprenticeship to really do some research on that company and understand what that company is more about. Key here is try to avoid using buzzwords and cliches, such as always giving 110%. That's great, but so many people say it now, it's kind of become a bit of a pointless thing to say because it's now more of a cliche. So you really want to stand out from the crowd and really bring out skills that are unique to yourself instead of going for buzzwords such as the one described there. So moving on to the application form then. Now, this gets the employer to understand about you and your experiences, and types of questions you could be asked on an application form, for example, would be simple: why do you want to work for us? How well do you understand the industry, the job? What are your hobbies? Employees want to know about you. And what positions have you held in the past? Give an example when you showed leadership, or why are you the best candidate for the job? They're really like top 5 standard application questions. And here are just a few tips of how you can read how you can fill out your application form. So obviously read the form from beginning to end first before you start filling it out. Treat it kind of like as an exam paper. And print off the job description and circle all the desired skills. So as I've said, usually employers, or they should always, to either describe their ideal candidate or key attributes that they're looking for within their hires. Circle those key attributes and make sure you are absolutely referring to them in your CV, your covering letter, and most of all, your application form. Write your responses in a separate document. That makes sure that if something goes wrong, if you lose your internet, you haven't lost everything. But also you can spell check your work through that and copy and paste all of that to your application form. And once you finish, save a copy of all your responses, obviously, just in case you've lost everything, but that also makes it really easy to tweak in future for other applications you're going to do. And finally, be specific, give stats and real evidence. Try not to blabber on these application forms. Be really situational based. So, for example, like I'm going to draw back to the EY example. You know, EY are looking for communication skills. Why are you right for this role? I'm right for this role because my communication skills are fantastic. I know this because I was a waitress and I got 5-star client feedback on my yearly reviews. Things like that. You've got to be really situation based and draw upon your previous experiences to prove your skills. Okay, so psychometric testing then. So psychometric tests have become a key part of the recruitment process. It sounds scarier than it is. Nearly 3/4 of UK companies use psychometric testing. So here's a flavour of what could be involved. So you've got abstract reasoning, which is used to judge your general intellect, reasoning skills. Aptitude tests, which measure your knowledge of a specific subject that will be related to the apprenticeship. A personality test, so the employer really gets to know what type of personality profile you are. So you'll answer 50 to 100 quick fire questions. Or verbal reasoning, so you'll read an extract, kind of like an English exam, for example. You'll read an extract of written text and you'll have to pull out the key information after. So that's just what psychometric tests could look like. But again, it depends on the employer that you apply for. But hopefully this gives you a good overview of what to expect. So really juicy, who's out there, who are offering apprenticeships, who could you work for? These are the top 100 apprenticeship employers of 2020 to 2021. Now, this is all based on Rate My Apprenticeship reviews. So we've got over 26,000 reviews from real life apprentices. They've reviewed all of their apprenticeships they've been on. We asked them questions such as, How is your training? How is management? How is your social life? Because we know you enjoying your apprenticeship is so crucial for your work development. We asked them really interesting questions, and this has enabled us to put together who are the best of the employers offering apprenticeships out there. Now, just given this table a scan, there's so many different industries here. I'm sure there's something right for everyone. There's construction, there's engineering, there's technology, there's media with the BBC, Tesco, McDonald's, Aldi, so many different companies that you can work for and do an apprenticeship. And all of these companies advertise on Rate My Apprenticeship. As I said, the one-stop place to find your apprenticeship program. So that's who our 100 top apprenticeship employers are. So definitely have a look at them. If any of these employers, if you see any of these employers' logos and you think, oh, I've always wanted to work for, let's say, IBM, then you can go and Rate My Apprenticeship. You can type in IBM. You can see if they've got any roles live, but you can also read reviews from previous apprentices who've worked for IBM to actually get a feel of if that company would be right for you. Just go into further detail of how you can actually use our website then. So what's next? Say you've listened to this presentation, which is great. You're really excited about doing an apprenticeship, but you may not know what your next steps are. And I'd say research is key. A search for apprenticeship schemes online, maybe go on employer websites. If you know that you want to work for an employer, that's great. Go on their website, look at their company culture, see what's out there. But also make the most of having careers advisors, get that one-to-one support that can really help set you up for success. There's loads of virtual events happening throughout the year, things like What Career Live, apprenticeship shows. That's a great way that you can really get to mingle and have conversations with employers one-to-one. But as I've said, Rate My Apprenticeship is the one-stop place to kind of get all this information in one. So you can read over, you can read our reviews. I think there's actually 27,000 views now. And you can search those top employers. The employers I've just spoken to you about, that's 100 out of 400 employers. So if you know you've got an employer in mind, but actually they didn't show up on that table, you can type in the employer on our website and actually see if there's any roles available or see if they've been reviewed, because we've only highlighted a few there. We give you careers and application advice. So I'm not sure how well you can see on that laptop there, but if you click on the advice hub, click down on students, we give you CV advice, application advice, loads of blogs, assessment centre tips. You can find all of that there. Of course, you can apply for jobs directly through us as well. And we do a guide that's sent to every school and college across the UK. And again, that puts all of this information into a handy guide for you. So that should be at your careers office. And that's how you can secure an apprenticeship through our website. So sign up by going on www.ratemyapprenticeship.co.uk. By signing up and creating an account, you will receive emails. You can also register your interest with certain employers. For example, if you want to work for EY, keep bringing EY as an example. If you want to work for them, you can register your interest with them. So as soon as they have applications open, they will send you an email. But also by signing up and creating a profile, we'll send you emails bi-weekly, letting you know all about the new apprenticeship opportunities that have come to our website, giving you all the latest advice and tips, etc. You can also follow us on Instagram at Rate My Apprenticeship. Again, we give you loads of advice and help, case studies, competitions, etc. And that is a really quick stop tour of Rate My Apprenticeship and the apprenticeship schemes that you can undertake. So I appreciate that's a lot of information. I've just spoken to you virtually without seeing your faces for half an hour. So please feel free to ask questions, and yeah, I'll either answer them on this call now, but if there's any that I can't answer, then I will send them in an email and get back to you as soon as possible. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you for that, Sophie. That was such an insightful and informative presentation. We've had a couple of questions into the Q&A function. So someone has asked that they'd like to do a midwifery degree apprenticeship. So cool. Is that possible? Would that be through the Nhs Apprenticeships?
Good question. So you can either go on the government's website for this, gov.ac.uk. That might tell you more about apprenticeships with the NHS. We do also advertise NHS apprenticeships on our website, but I'd say less so than our other employers. I'm not sure if it's as popular I'm not sure if it's as popular as other industries at the moment, but you can go on our website, type in NHS and see if there's any opportunities there, or you can register your interest and get those emails. But if Rate My Apprenticeship isn't right for that route, then you can absolutely go on the government website and find out more about apprenticeships with the NHS.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Sophie. I think we've got quite time for one last question. So are there any apprenticeships in like estate agencies?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take Savills, for example. They were in our top 100 employment. That's related to that industry. I think you also need to look at, okay, you might think you want to work for a estate agent, but what actually is it that you're looking for that estate agency? What key skills is it that you want to demonstrate? So actually, you might have an agency in mind, but you might find that it's a different company that you want to work for example. Think of those transferable skills as well. But yeah, absolutely. We have loads of employers on Rate My Apprenticeship that will offer those kind of schemes.
Well, thank you so much for that, Sophie. That was a really, really great presentation. We had lots of thank yous in the Q&A, so I'm just passing it on to you. Everyone thought it was a really great presentation. If anyone wanted to access the recording, you can go onto the webpage and all the recordings from today will be live on there tomorrow. But I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for joining us, and I hope everyone has a lovely afternoon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.